Welcome everybody to tonight's community conversation in housing. So first of all, just really want to introduce myself. I'm Jason Robertson. I'm brought on by the Village of Lytton to assist with some of this facilitation through the community events that we're having through our planning with the OCP alongside my partner Raven. And yeah, so Christian for joining here tonight. My name is Spot Shook, which is Red Bear, here from the Nequac Nation, and just want to acknowledge that we're here today on the unceded territorial lands of the Nequac Nation. So excited and happy to see everybody here joining in this conversation. It's a very important topic and one of the most one of the more critical pieces of us planning forward for Lytton and the future of Lytton. And so just really want to emphasize how important this process is, the OCP, so the official community planning process, and how we're really setting forth a vision for Lytton and for a 20-year period and plus. So just all know that any way that you guys contribute and feedback that you have is extremely beneficial and acknowledged and documented and will be incorporated the best that we can. So at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Caroline.
Sure.
We can dive right into our part.
Great. Welcome everybody, and thanks for coming out. And it's particularly great to have Raven and Jason because they certainly know housing, what Elephant has achieved over there, and certainly it's a governance model in the village and different challenges and opportunities. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about what community conversations are. And so we did the first one on Monday, which was economic development. And now we're moving into housing, and next week will be parks and trails and food security and agriculture. So what it is not everybody wants to write letters or fill out surveys. And it's just a great idea and a great approach where people can just share their ideas with you in a comfortable setting over some food. And those comments then will go forward to become key policy directions in the community plan. So we'll explore them. If you say something, what about this? Have you thought about it? Then I have to rush off and sort of understand it and then get a better idea of what you're talking about. So it's, to me, I always believe that community meetings and public hearings are because I don't know everything. There's lots I can learn, and I certainly don't know the Lytton community like all of you do. So next slide is that. So why is housing so important? And I think provincially, it's obviously really, really, we hear about it all the time now. And it's probably a little more in the face than it probably was 10 years ago, housing needs. But housing is essential for our health, well-being, and really it needs to be affordable, adequate, and suitable. If you don't have great housing, you're not really can't participate in your community. It also provides a construction economy that I think we talked about on Monday with economic development, commercial customers, to get people back in town so that, we get the grocery store, we get the pharmacy, and we get all the other amenities. It builds a sense of place and it builds community. So next slide, please. So when you look at housing, it's never just, often here you might think, well, it's just single family home, because that's all really Lytton had before, which is pretty incredible. But it could be single family, duplex, townhome, condo, apartment, accessory dwelling unit, which is sort of where people are going now, called ADUs, tiny homes, temporary housing, and RVs and camps. When you look at the size, it's the physical size, it's the number of bedrooms, it's the number of bathrooms, there's all the amenities, office, garage, etc. There's the value of it, the sale price, the appraised price, the rental. There's also the tenures, the rental, ownership, strata, co-op, timeshare, special needs, so social assistance, elder care, accessibility, character. So here, building materials and suppliers, really important. Architectural design, I think we heard a lot about that when we were talking about the community hub. And then your neighborhood. And then location, is it close to goods and services? More of a movement now to have walkable communities. So next slide. Housing needs and trends. So the demographics is really important. Who are people in the community, and what do they need as far as housing, given their age, their income, their family size, and all that influences it. There's also market trends, and most of you might not be old enough to remember the whole condo boom, which was a change in legal ownership, and that changed the whole housing market. So, and also economic conditions, and we see that right now where the move to smaller homes and to accessory units and to increase density. And then the state of the housing market is important. And when you look at that, clearly the 2021 fire it had and the corresponding cost to remediate it and rebuild it has a significantly impacted housing needs, housing supply, and affordability. Next slide. So again, Lytton's difficult. I guess this May we'll get the new stats, but it had a population of 210 before the fire. Now we sort of estimated it, given the number of dwellings that are occupied about in homeowner grants, things like that we use, it's about 75. The median age has gone up from to 59.3. The income stat is quite old, but it still is considerably lower than the provincial average. And the households are primarily one census family households with additional people or couples. There's some children, but that's not really dominant. And then you can see that's reflected in the school enrollment, which of course the school considers more the greater area, and which is really just under 200 students. So between the two schools. Next slide. And then housing supply. So the province does require local municipalities. Lytton is currently exempt, but doing a housing needs study. So we need to look at supply. But right now, before the fire, there was about 118. 18 have now been rebuilt, and 30 were existing. So we're about 48. We're not even half to where we were. The type of dwellings, that's what I said, it's pretty amazing. They're all single family. Although I do know, incidentally, and you probably all know, is that there were a few smaller hotels that people would live in as rental units. Yeah. So, and then now there's 48 single family dwellings. The tenure, 80% were ownership in 2021 and 15 rental. Yeah, so next slide. So then the next step when you do sort of a hunt needs, where are you, is do you have land to do more? Well, we certainly look outside, there's land. So we have really three predominant zones, the R1, R2, C1, and CM. And that could get us, you can see the units. So we have about 184 lots and vacant about 110 of that. And then if you look at the line below, what I then took was, what if we did single family, like we just built out, where would we end up? And so we have 89 units of single family, assuming maybe 25% might put a suite in it, an accessory unit. The multifamily at the airport, it's actually zoned, and it could actually take up to 100 units. I'll get to that one a little bit different because it's a little trickier. And then there's 70 to 100 units within the commercial buildings if they were to add units while they rebuild on the upper floors. Next slide. And this is a map that shows pretty much the surviving homes downtown and in the Loring Ponderosa area, and just showing you, what's happening. There's obviously some more uses coming back, but yeah, actually I see a typo there, but so it's still, and we're going to evolve on this map because I think it's one that would be really great to be live, so that any day you can go up and see, okay, where are we? The next slide. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is talk a little bit about some of the initiatives that the village is working on right now. So we did an interim needs report in the fall, really started to think about when the new village office is, when the recovery team leaves, and it's working. We spoke to the RCMP and the school board, and we've heard that the healthcare center is coming back. So we need essential housing. So the village, with the little land we own, we sort of pulled a page out of our neighbors and said, maybe we can put some affordable housing on that. So we went to an RFP. We got 23 submissions, which was pretty incredible, and it's taken a long time. So we're now working with about 8, and we hope to get construction started this year. And so that what we're probably focusing on is 2 units right now. 455 Fraser Street was one of them, but right now it's almost too cost prohibitive given how small the unit is. Next slide. And then on, I guess it was last night and Tuesday night, we talked about the hub and released the 10 to 12 units. I think this plan showed 11 for essential workers again, studio, 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom, which would be in the 2nd story. And there's some great perspectives there that you can see that. So they'd be up on the upper floor, and I think they'd be some pretty nice units looking over the river. Next slide. And then workforce housing, and there's also, I think, in the next 3 or 4 years, we're really going to need housing for the workforce. There's a lot, certainly with me seeing building permits and building inquiries coming in. The village project, we have a major sewer project. We have the village offices, and probably next year or later this year will be the community hub. So where will those workforce live? Luckily, the Cumsheen Lodge exists, which is LFN's camp up at the airport. As well, the village, we've included on our website the possible hotels and RVs that we've talked to the owners, and they would like workforce housing. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, just a little bit on the camp. So obviously it was a challenge to get the camp set up and mobilized. It was probably about 1.5 years of negotiating and vetting various different proponents, different camp suppliers, to really buy into Lytton and invest and see past the initial anchor tenant, which was the Tanko Alliance. Since that highway project has been completed, they're really struggling at this point to actually entertain a phone call this morning to start looking at demobilization plans for 2 of the dorms. So that'll essentially, there's going to be 50 something rooms that are not going to be available locally. So I'm doing what I can to really try and market, get the word out there, and negotiated better rates. So we're past the whole construction phase of the camp. We've recovered a lot of the costs that have been incurred to put in legacy infrastructure from septic drain fields and hydro, which and all of the developmental costs to get that established. And so thankfully, they've really kind of opened their doors and they're being creative. And so our dinner here tonight has actually been catered by Lancy Camp. And they're putting that option forward for the community to be able to access catering services out of the commercial kitchen there. So pretty happy about that. I'm still working on having the kitchen open for lunch to the public. So keep your ear out. I'm hoping that in the next week or so that we'll be able to offer that up there. And that's primarily in lieu that the Battlefield Kitchen is actually closing as of Friday. And so we've lost another option for meals. So more to come on the camp, and we're doing what we can to keep that facility alive here in Lytton. It's kind of one of those catch-22s. While 3 months down the road, there might be tons of demand for the rooms, but at this point, they're really struggling to make a business case, and it's a bit of a losing enterprise. So,
yeah,
still chugging away and still doing what I can in the background, and so hopefully some of the contractors in the area are gonna have some more uptake there.
and I think that shows, like, in this community, the more you just know what other people are doing to make things better for everybody. And the food is excellent, by the way, we had it on Monday night. Village, we are doing just a small RV park, for workers. Which is down in Hubble Hollow, it's pretty small, like maybe 3 or 4 pads. And we're probably focusing with our builders, with our projects. Next slide. So new housing, and this is where Anna, maybe Raven wants to talk to this. All the projects that you guys have been working on, yeah.
So as you all know, I'm Raven Johnson. I've been working with Lytton First Nations since 2022. So the wildfire that took the year after Lytton, we lost everything over here. We had a devastating fire across the river and we lost the 7 homes across the river. So working together with the rebuild team, we were able to establish temporary homes. We sat down. It almost took exactly a year to clean up the debris, move forward, get all that, go through the arc, and then getting the infrastructure back because we lost a lot of it. So we had to cap off water lines, reestablish hydro, and put in new septic fields for the temporary homes. And while we were doing the cleanup and planning for everything, we were also getting the houses made. So Fort Modular came on with us and they made the homes big enough so we rented a helicopter to super puma them across the river. So the smallest temporary home that we have, 600 square feet. So that 600 square foot is 4 trailers that was packaged up and we had them at the battlefield hall. And they were flown across the river from the battlefield across the river to each home site. And then they were put together. The pilot was a little, what do you want to say? Challenge. He was like, I can hit them right wherever you want them, Raven. Don't worry, I got this. But it was a little harder than we thought. Yeah. So the first trailer we got flown over actually went over and it came back. So everyone's in happy tears and we were so excited. There was no wind at all the day that we moved up temporary homes. So that took 4.5 days to actually get 48 loads of the temporary homes from the battlefield hall across the river. And it was a challenge, but we were able to move our homeowners in exactly a year to the day that they lost their homes. So we actually were on this side of the river and I was with the homeowner and he actually watched his house burn down to this side. But I was so thankful, like our homeowners were able to get out in a timely manner because by the time the fire started, I think we lost our first house. The fire started at 12:30. We lost our first house at 4 o'clock. And then we lost 2 houses the next morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, just from the wind change. And so I'm thankful that we didn't lose anything else and we were able to contain the fire at Stein subdivision as the whole Stein subdivision was field mitigated. So they were actually able to stomp the fire down. It was the fire that went along the riverside and up into the Stein after Deep Roads Road. 2021 has been a challenge with all the houses, but happy to say everyone over here on IR 18 is moved in. Those houses are complete. IR 22, they should be moving in mid-April, and IR 17, they're just starting their last house fire, and that should be the beginning of June. But it's been amazing to see what everybody can pull their socks together and move everything forward. It's exciting to see all the big, beautiful houses that are coming back, like even driving through Lytton, to see the progress of everyone and everything that's happening here is really heartwarming and blessing. Awesome.
So we thought I'd give a little bit of dialogue. You did include one of our pictures.
Yes, I did. And I actually purposely, I think it was so fascinating. I've never heard of that before in my years of big housing.
I think it was a first for the funders. It was a first for the helicopter company. And the determination, they were just like, they could have pulled the plug on it. They're like, nope, we'll figure this out. And actually the boss came down Coldstream helicopters to come and kind of see what's going on, you know, and troubleshoot and to really get the crew pulled together and get it going. So it just kind of shows you some of the challenges that, you know, that we've withstood in this recovery and rebuild process and just being in Lytton itself. So we're unique in a lot of ways and we're up against a lot of challenges, but thankfully, you know, we've brought some really good folks on board to come and assist and do a lot of the heavy lifting for us. So thankful for everybody that's contributed so far, and, you know.
They have, Fort has actually submitted in our essential housing, so I was just curious, yeah. So then moving a little farther south, Akbar has done the crossing place, which is housing for elders, families, and members of other Indigenous peoples in the area. And as well as non-Indigenous people are also welcome to apply. And it's a really neat, it's a freehold development. And then we all were really excited with Chief Spitlam's Elders Lodge with Kanak Bar Band to get the return of the 6 assisted living units matching the original number, and then with 7 additional independent elder assisted units. And that's, I think they're going ahead. So they got the money. So that's exciting too. Thanks. And this last slide is a mishmash of there's tons of stuff going on in the province right now as far as housing trends and really to increase density and a lot of this is one in urban centers, they're running out of land, but really it's because land is so expensive. And so how do you densify and how do you allow people to age in place? So the top one, increased density, you'll see a lot, and this is something for Lytton to think of, is you put a 3rd story on the commercial or mixed use buildings. Often I see they're stepped back a little bit, so their impacts aren't as prevalent. It's not this like straight up wall. Multiplex and single family neighborhoods, that's a big one that really looks like a single family home, but it might have 3 units in it, 3 or 4. Infill housing, which is a little drawing there, which is the carriage home, the attached suite, which is the rail, the red little building, and then over garage or just the normal or attached. And it's all these different things that you can look at. And there's a little example of a very simple accessory unit that people, another word is granny flats that they drop in their backyard. So the other really trendy term is called the missing middle. And we do a lot for people that, they're single family, it's traditional, they're everywhere, but we also do often a lot of assisted housing, but we're missing that middle, that day-to-day family going off to work. What can they afford and what can it be sustainable for them to live in, enough space for our growing family, et cetera. Next slide. So, and then this is just the continuum that you see. So you start to market ownership and rental, and then affordable home ownership. I personally live in a resident restricted unit in my hometown where my husband has to work because I work out of town, but where it's price controlled. Affordable rental, social housing, transition housing, emergency shelters, and homelessness. Next slide. So then what I wanted to do is to talk a little bit, since we're updating the OCP, what does the OCP say right now about housing? So we have low density residential, which you can pretty much see is all the yellow. And then we have medium density residential, which if you just look, it's just north of 4th, and I circled it in white, and that is medium density residential. And so there really isn't density in this town. It's traditionally been a very single family neighborhood. And you can see in next slide, Lisa, just as you see the lot layouts of the town. No. Oh, no, go back. That's fine. So in the OCP, there's a certain, sorry, next one. It's good. They have we don't have a lot of housing choice. I guess that's what we're saying. And and this is what the current OCP says. So it says we should attract development and allowing increased density on the existing land base through additional multifamily dwellings such as apartments, condominiums, or row housing, and the development of manufactured home parks and or subdivisions or small lots for single family homes, as well as mixed use or vertical zoning to allow residential use in the commercial core. there are, and this is pre-fire, 1998, when this plan was written, there are sufficient undeveloped lands that could be serviced to provide for long-term residential needs of Lytton. So these are things I just want you guys to think about when we come back to just the conversation. So the next slide. More policies, encourage rehabilitation of existing residences. So I think we've seen that with the ones that did survive the fire. A lot of them have been improved. Consider an increase in density in exchange for amenities. That's something I think we really just want growth. I'm not so sure. We need, in many communities, if you want increased density, you have to do something. You have to contribute a lot of money to some sort of community facility. You see that in larger centers. Basically, that's, and it's sort of got out of hand, and now housing's super affordable. Thanks. In the long term, council will continue to review the means of having a range of housing types in the residential areas and committed to providing opportunities for affordable rental and special needs. And then, again, special development area 2, the OCP needs some updating because it talks about area 2, but actually the only residential is actually that's zoned right now is the airport parcel. The other ones are not zoned, they're sort of future areas. Next slide, next planning areas, I guess. And they're sort of comparison maps. And today I kind of went through the two and saw where there's some inconsistency, which we would correct with the OCP update. But we also might want to hear from you, and you guys might want to change what these designations are. And then in turn, you would then go update the zoning bylaw after that. So the OCP is sort of a broad, we really like residential in this area, and it could go up to 5 units per acre or something. And then the zoning, you do all the details. What are the setbacks? What's the coverage? What's all that stuff? Next slide. So this shows you what the current zoning is in R1. So if you look at like a typical excerpt of the community, like Fraser Street, those are exactly what the zoning is. 464 square meters or 5,000 square feet, frontage 15.2 meters, height, everybody is at 10 meters, which is about 2.5 stories, and then only 50% coverage. That's a very traditional single family lot. And then the R2, which there's 1 or 2, they allow a slightly larger minimum lot size, which is interesting. And then a frontage, larger frontage. Sorry, the height, I missed that. It's 10 meters. And then the coverage, which is odd, is lower. So, and then the final one is the C1, which I mentioned before, has residential uses. So as I mentioned before, the 50% coverage limits the use of a lot. So if you did want to put, say, a granny flat in your backyard, you might not be able to. That coverage wouldn't allow it. So coverage is basically the footprint of all occupied buildings. And then the last is, again, the height. So right now it's 2.5 stories, which is reasonable for a single family. But when you're looking at mixed use, you might want to look at a little higher with some conditions. And this is a slide from our economic development meeting on Monday. And what Diane, our CAO, CFO, did was said, okay, what is a sustainable number of rebuilds so that we can run the budget very similar to pre-fire, I believe that's correct. And so it was 35 new homes rebuilt at the current average assessed value of 700,000. So subject to tax rate and all that stuff, but it is a good number to think about when you go forward. And certainly yesterday was a budget discussion, and that's very, hopefully we're not just looking at status quo and that Lytton's going to be like this forever. So next slide. I think a lot of you worked on the workbook. Thank you. We had about 45 people, which I thought was quite good and quite diverse response. And what we did was we took the existing OCP policies, and then we said, what do you think? And then we took all the input that we had from people, some we received at farmers market, from community launch. And these were sort of things that people related to housing thought was important. So adding housing and support facilities encourage people to remain in Lytton, very relevant, or highly relevant. Work collaboratively in partnership with the INCLIP to address the opportunities related to transportation, environmental protection, affordable housing, tourism, and economic development. Highly relevant. Promote a range of housing opportunities to meet the needs of present and future residents. Provide a diversity of housing, facilitate new affordable housing for former residents returning to the community, and encourage OCP to prioritize rebuilding housing, businesses, and essential services to support returning residents. And that was just a comment. So that was not voted on one. Next slide. So first of all, does anybody have any questions? This goes, Lisa, do you have any? Maybe we'll start online and then do a little back the other day. Do you have any questions?
I don't have anything at the moment, but if anyone online wants to raise their hand or type something in the chat.
Okay. Any questions on the presentation, anybody? Yeah.
I just, that was great, thank you. I was just gonna point out that with the previous building pre-fire, it's a bit misleading because so many of the properties were developed in a non-conforming way that either did or did not have the variance required, but I suspect most were non-conforming and not registered non-conforming, so but I didn't get far when had a lot of different variations of housing that they've been detached. So even though on the map that you showed me,
Yes.
when there was manufactured home parks, there was motels, there was industrial.
And that's really important because, you know, someone like me that comes back and is helping.
Yeah, so the map is bit misleading.
Yeah, and like, certainly I know as we've helped people rebuild, you know, they could put the same amount on their house as they could before, and how do we work around that? How do we help them? When we were doing the cleanup and remediation, how do you grade it and make sure that they can get a house back on? So, any other questions?
Just on that presentation, you made a comment about the height
Mhm.
of a building, and pre-fire, we were, according to what the fire department could get up on their ladder. Now, I don't know the new ladder truck, if it's higher, maybe that's, maybe then I would understand your comment.
Yeah.
That it could go beyond 2.5 stories.
Mhm.
But before, we were guided by the fire department's response to a home fire.
Yeah, and that's a really good question. It's something that I've been grappling with because we're getting quite a few interested, and that's one of the questions they ask: could we go 3 stories? And so I referred it to the fire department actually when Kyle was there, and they said that they only fight exterior fires; they don't go in, so they don't need a ladder to go in. So we can go to 3 stories. So that was sort of definitive. I don't know if you've done any variances at this point. I don't think council has, but we certainly have indicated that because the financials are very tight when you're doing a 3-story or a 2-story building with residential, commercial on the bottom, and then even 1 or even a half story up to 5 suddenly makes it more feasible to build. So yeah.
Thank you.
Good question. Any other questions? So what we thought we'd do, and this is Maggie, she's our planning assistant, and she's gonna ban it and take your comments. So, and then, I don't know, what we thought we'd start with is that same old thing. What are our strengths for housing? When we think about housing, what is a strength? Come on, throw it out.
There's an open path.
That's very
Yeah, so we got lots of land. Yeah,
Some livable.
Yeah.
People want to develop it.
and it's a great, like it is interesting. A lot of communities now, the land left is really hard to tell.
Lots of
Service lots.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the cost of the land is reasonable compared to any other municipality.
Yeah. Very true.
It's the strength, but the other part of it, weakness. The cost of building.
Yeah, the cost of land right now.
Last cheap, but the
Yeah.
cost of building is.
So.
That's big.
So the inexpensive land carbon, my dad used to always say, will not find a lot within 3 hours of the lower mainland that's serviced with sewer and water for less than 100,000. Period. You cannot, like if I were to advertise Lytton in the Big Sun, that would be my masthead.
And I don't know recently, but they were about 80. some of the lots.
So service lots would be something to
Yeah,
recommend.
service lots. And the service, with new services,
Yeah.
I think is a big plus. Having worked in community service. Is that it?
For the willingness of the village to work with anyone interested in building.
Yeah.
I think there's a
Like
definitely
flexibility.
an intention to be helpful.
There is a question online.
Okay.
Is it possible to have entrances to homes, so ADUs in the alleyway?
It's good comment. Yeah, I don't, I think there is some question right now about front doors.
I don't think everybody knows what.
Oh, sorry, an ADU is like a carriage house or a granny suite or, an accessory dwelling, and I'm sorry, I don't know that off the top of my head, whether or not you can, but I certainly will look into that. I think it's a good comment, and normally they are, like if you go into the city, all their laneway houses, I mean, they're laneway houses, that's what they're called. So I think that would definitely be something that we would entertain, for sure. I wouldn't call that hindrance. I think the strength right now is technology, isn't it? For housing, maybe that's an opportunity, but housing's come a long way, and I think this whole movement to affordable housing is, we're getting, like you guys did the modulars, and we're looking at the modulars, and also some of the new insulation or outsulation and all those things are definitely good. Yes?
I was gonna say, also council voted, when we came on the no minimum size. So you can, as long as you have the components of the dwelling, which I believe is like a shower, toilet.
Oh, no minimum, yeah.
and You can literally build a 250 square foot conforming home.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is really unusual.
Yep. We want to do now weaknesses already?
So what about no maximum, what was the last one there?
No minimum size.
No minimum.
Yeah, so you can, as long as you have the components of a dwelling as per the building code, you can as small as footprint.
What does that mean, falls in like the tiny homes are accepted,
See that?
like the tiny homes that are accepted, like the tiny homes?
I think that's a question for Carolyn, but I believe there's like certain designations in manufacturers.
Subject to like foundations and we do that. but yeah.
Some of them like on Corona, for instance, they build them so they come here, but they're set onto a foundation, they don't come
Yes.
frame ready like towable, or
Yeah.
easily moved, they're ready to just drop onto a foundation.
Yeah, and we also had a few people on, we've really explored those foundations, screw piles versus the, and so we're really trying to be proactive with that. And I think that's up there. We are willing to work with people. Our building department is the TNRD, and they've been really progressive, I would say, and responsive. So, yeah.
Another comment, sorry, for
mhm.
strength. Oops, hold on a second. I just lost it. Strength is the ability to use unusual shaped buildings. And then I believe Ramona has something here too. Hold on a second. Is that we have a rare chance to rebuild from the ground up. Our weakness is a small tax base, limited capacity, real financial barriers, and the way we sometimes focus more on the problems and possibilities. I'm not sure if you guys can all see this or not. Attract families and small businesses who want to live in an interesting, affordable place with purpose. Our biggest threat is building more than we can realistically maintain over time, especially if uncertainty continues to affect people confidence in investing here.
Yeah, and just, she'll give us those comments. Then we'll
Okay.
Yep, sorry.
For the strength, the council has a priority to build the community hub and the pool. And their focus for the strength is to attract families and to live and build homes in the village.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good one, you said that.
Amenities, yeah. New village amenities.
And that was stated this week very clearly at the council meeting.
Yes.
Like when Carolyn talked about amenity space that developers are required to have within their developments, usually.
Yes, that's a good strength.
Pretty much providing that.
Yes.
So
That's excellent, yeah.
it kind of takes.
Because in another community, like before I left here, I was working for a private developer and we were contributing $500,000 to the community center for development.
I think Councilor Lightfoot had talked about the gravel lots, so I think building in the gravel lots, village homes to begin, it's a good start.
Yes.
And having that attractiveness start in the village.
So we do hope to do a showcase book too. So even though not everyone will be picked, we want to showcase them. So if people come in and go, like, I didn't know that Fort did yours. And so they'd go, oh, well, Fort, that's Fort's. Well, let's go over and talk to Raven and see if we can see what they've done. So I think that's sharing. And one thing, and maybe we'll move to weaknesses quick and we can jump back to strengths. Sorry.
I don't know if it fits in this particular category of strengths, with the physical location of the community and its proximity to larger centers, yet still part of the rural experience.
It's really true. You can move on to the city for a day or you need to. Yeah. One of the weaknesses I see when you look at the surrounding community building is we're a private property based and we don't do it communally. So it costs more. So we can't, I don't know if there was ever discussion about, about 3 or 4 of them. You sort of saw what Patsy and Owen did with the MBS, and then the neighbor kind of said, hey, that's kind of nice. I should do that. And that's sort of what we're sort of hoping that we can showcase what we do too. And likewise, I've talked to Judith about her their home, and it's good to understand and to learn a little bit more from your neighbors. And that has this ability to do that. But it is hard for the village because we can't demand someone rebuild their home. Right? We can't after the fact. Yeah.
I just want to kind of echo and add to what Jesso mentioned about us being, close to major centers, right? And so we kind of look at it as the 100-mile diet. Right? So when you're accessing your food within 100 miles, then you're getting your best value, you're getting good quality, you're getting all of these things, circular economy, right? And so if we really have a look at our close area, we have Skeetchison and Dedeka homes. They're manufacturing prefab homes within 100 kilometers of Lytton. Yeah. And and they're extremely economical, and the community is willing and wanting to, they're new kind of, right? So there are small niche markets like that, and maybe that is something that really we can have a look at is compiling and showing people different opportunities that are in our neck of the woods.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm super thankful. Like I've got a couple fellows here that are working on our subdivision, Square X Resource Management, and to be able to piggyback on some of those synergies. Companies that are working in town, that are mobilized in town, and they ways to prove efficiency. So if somebody is ready to build, just really look at your neighbor and see who's who and who's around and help support. Right?
Yeah, definitely. Again, just sharing knowledge and experiences. And that's what a small town you're able to do too.
Even Skeetchison, I went to an open house there, and they showed me one of those roundhouses.
Oh yeah.
And they asked more as from us, but they gave me a whole bunch of flyers to bring down here because they're building everywhere.
Yeah.
They got the professionals that do that.
And that's the one off of
Big
towards Kamloops, right?
Yeah.
Big Sky Castle.
Yeah.
I think the crossing place is using some of that
They are. Yep.
in their.
Dedeka homes right there. We have one up on IR 18 from there. Yeah. Dedeka home.
I'm not sure that this is a weakness for our town, I think it's just a weakness for building. Things that lost were bought by speculators.
So we don't know if anything's ever gonna happen with those, just because they're probably waiting for the price to go up. Plus, before the fire or even after the fire, there's a lot of homeowners that own more than one lot. And so with the price of housing these days, what will they be doing with the second lot? You know, I think that's, obviously, I may have owned 2 lots before too, but so it's a disadvantage to the Lytton Island tax base that those 2 sets of lots are not easily available.
And I think also, some of the people, it's what I'm seeing, as I call them and bug them and say, hey, can I help you? Is just, it's a daunting task to build. It really is. I think everyone's here, if you've never built, you know, it's daunting. So, it's hard. Energy just.
Oh, I'm just talking about the behavior of people that come to Lytton, the workers and stuff. And over the years, I've noticed that no one comes to the village to build a house. They don't new people.
Right.
We're talking about attracting new families and whatever, right? All the long-term residents have come and rented first. And then over time, they moved into a more permanent home. And my hope would be that through the discussions of the OCP, that the actionable strategy would be to figure out really strong rental accommodation to attract the people who will be the ones that will have permanent jobs.
Yep.
And be able to afford, hopefully, to move up the ladder to better housing.
Yep, and that's
Put it that way.
And that's an opportunity, I think, for housing, is we need more rental. And I think the opportunity, kind of going back to Monday's discussion, is people want to try out of town first.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They do.
That's an excellent point. Yeah.
Just to piggyback on what you just said, it was unfortunate with the Pacific Can funding, they didn't do it for rentals. So if you had a single attached rental home, you weren't eligible for the Pacific Can funding. So even though it was promised for the business rollout, it never actually materialized. So people that were offering rentals didn't have that as an option.
Was Pacific Can a strength or weakness?
Go both, I guess.
Depends
Some
which
people-
lens you're.
The jury's out. Just had a thought, great thoughts about people coming and, you know, rebuilding on their lots. When you really, really take a look at people who owned the homes. I'm sorry about the builders, but a lot of them were old. Oh, yeah. We're all right. And so how many of them are actually going to be able to come back and build?
No.
At the age that we have. Yeah.
So you're saying that who's come back is who's coming back?
And then one house left, I think Jack is right. I think there's only one house left to be built.
Yeah.
So the new people to attract is what the council said last night. They want to attract new people with the development of the hub and the pool. And I understand what you're saying, that the lots owned previously are challenged. Yeah. What we're asking, so same thing.
Okay, let's, is there any other, I want to do opportunities and threats, and then we can get down into some of that stuff that you're talking about. But before we do that, there's really good feedback there, and I think you guys should go eat it. And then bring it back.
Yeah.
Go think of an opportunity and a threat, and then we'll come back and we'll do it. And then I'll check in with Lisa. Do you have anything else?
Someone just mentioned that, I think it was during Pacific Can is a strength.
Oh, it's straight. Okay. Okay, keep that off there.
Sorry, Carolyn, did you say we're taking a quick break?
Quick break, just they're getting their food and then we're gonna sit down and they'll have
Okay.
more energy.
Sure, I'm just going to mute Parish Hall for now then.
Okay, perfect.
Carolyn, if you'd like to unmute.
So we're just talking right now about threats and whether, change in neighborhood. I use the term NIMBY, which is used in urban areas, typically where not in my backyard, so things should stay the same. So, and maybe once we get into what opportunities or some of the other questions would be, we'll dig into that a little bit more on opportunities.
I think, taking what you just said, there's an overwhelming need and desire for things to be as they were. Even though we all recognize that they can't be, that's still where we go back. So I think that's the reality, but it may become a threat, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Just to realize it.
It's kind of both, right?
Yeah.
It was a nice town
Yeah.
and but if people can't afford to live here, that's the challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else? Opportunities?
I don't know what category it would be, but how do you get a developer to come in and do rental?
That's
So I don't understand that.
yeah.
So if that was part of the strategy for increasing housing, so how does all those pieces come together that someone would sell a bigger lot and allow that development?
So that's an opportunity, right? Is how do we seize on that opportunity? How do we get, but is it BC Housing that will help us build some rental housing with local people or whatever?
Yeah, because if it's not the property owner and it can't be the village, who is it that's going to build these things that we want?
Right.
That people, like we said, can't afford to buy it just to come in and build a house.
Yeah.
They'll come in and live in a nice place.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if it's a threat or an opportunity.
I like this how they're kind of both.
Yeah, but, land is limited. That's right. What we have is what we have.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's lots of opportunity because there's lots of vacant land, but that's it.
But you can't kind of do what a lot of communities do is just grow out. Like they don't change what it is. They just grow out. Yeah.
I think a major threat is having the essential services in our community. For example, having a grocery store. At the moment, we're optimistic. The chamber has done a lot of work, especially Jack Keel and hundreds of hours. And we're still hoping maybe by the end of March, the ground will break, but we don't know for a fact it hasn't happened. So I would consider that a threat. And other essential services, sure, interior health has.
Yeah.
That's what they're going to be doing, but they told us that 4 years ago that they were starting. And so anyways, it's easy to be negative as well. But I hope it's not going to stop you from moving over here, building your house.
Yeah. A win though.
Well, maybe I-
Yes, Jen?
Just maybe not a challenge is for developers that are interested in building a hotel or a higher density project. There's not a lot of lots that could accommodate it.
Yeah.
So there are 5,000 square foot lots. And I think there's probably, maybe like 3 or 4 that exceed that in the village. So
Yeah.
that's a challenge.
I think an opportunity would be with the coastal, the coast being so expensive to build and lots being outrageous, because it might open up for a young family. Like I look at it 10 years ago, I wouldn't consider raising my family out here because I've worked out of town up until now.
Yeah.
And drive to Abbotsford, you get on a plane, you go up to Coral Lake or you go to any of these camp jobs. There's opportunity. This would be a great place for younger families to look at raising their kids and maybe getting them back eating dirt and not to living in front of a screen type thing.
Yeah.
Like, looking at it from my standpoint,
Yeah.
I would have down do something like that, look for a community like this. Especially when there's an opportunity to build fresh. They might be able to sell in the town or in the city and move out
Cash
here.
out, and
And
then,
be able to cash out and come where the mom can stay at home or dad stay at home and raise the family, so.
yeah, that's very common. What is that, it's sort of, hour and a half? 2 hours, if you're flying out?
Just around.
I mean, Kamloops, they fly out of Kamloops or Kelowna too.
Yeah, that's-
There's a lot of local hubs that
Yeah,
out of town workers could travel from.
Yeah.
That are still close enough.
great.
I wasn't clear last night at the presentation, I think maybe Diane, the CAO, did made a comment on the hub design. I think it was sort of not that, but that the top floor was a shell, what does that mean?
So, and maybe one of the counselors was, I'll try my best and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. So when the funding for what they have, which is the federal funding, right?
Yeah.
It is, yeah. So they were able to do the shell. So what I always call found space, it's in the roof. And so then another provincial funding can come in through our essential set housing and build the housing. So they're two kind of different funding on different purposes and different floors.
But that means they'll all be built at the same time.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so there's no, I was just thinking, is there gonna be a delay in housing?
No, like, I mean, obviously they have to get to the second floor, but it would be one building.
No, but it will be finished at the same time, so that we don't have to wait.
My understanding, that's the intention, and that the funding is in place already to do that.
Okay, so
That's my understanding.
and who is an essential worker, like the will
I did define it. I did define it. It's pretty much, anything that makes town run. So, stockbroker is not,
Nurses,
firefighters, teachers, municipal workers are.
So it's
As
the
we
people that
prove
weren't here before.
Yeah, it would be a challenge unless they were a nurse or a doctor or, yeah.
All right, thank you.
But that's not to say, the whole idea of retirement housing in a market is something when you look at maybe densifying, like, the one I said, the fourplex with the plexes are actually perfect for you can age in place. So you could have your neighbor next door. So you're in a smaller unit, but you're in a neighborhood still. So that's quite popular.
Yeah, nothing's finite, but the discussion is that maybe one of those spaces would be for like a property manager or someone that looks after the rentals or the facility, and then calls in the plumber when the water breaks or whatever.
Caretaker, yeah.
Caretaker. Even the village used to bring in financial workers for just a week or two during the audit time in the past, or CN and CP used to use the Totem Motel when they had crews in town, so.
We do. So we do have the hotel, we've been in discussions with one of the smaller hotels coming back, so. And I think they see a real opportunity again, with the workforce. Yep, Jen?
Just when Judith was asking about the filling out of the units, like as a person on council, I don't think we've discussed the RFP going separately for the actual build at the same time as the outfitting because of the different funding sources. I think, from what I understand, the tender will go out for the building. And then hopefully, to Noni's point, concurrently, there might be another tender.
But we don't wait 2 years.
Well, that's hope not to do that. I can't see a crystal ball, but ideally, I think it would come out shortly after the tender.
What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pivot now and a question, because I think we've touched on who needs housing. Sorry.
All right, just one more opportunity.
Yeah.
Is our Indigenous community,
In what sense?
in the fact that you're here,
And their population is large and.
That's housing.
they're good.
I just want to say, I think a threat is lots staying empty. Even before the fire, there were quite a number of downtown lots that weren't developed for whatever reason. And so I think the opportunity that we need to seek out is how to entice those landowners to partner with developers
Yeah.
so that they can realize some of their equity, but maybe move the projects ahead.
I know in some of the phone calls I've done, they often might be people that own small lots all over BC and little towns. And so their whole focus is, oh, that's, I can't think right now. of it. But that will change over time, hopefully. And we need to let them know that it's not that hard. So who needs housing? I think we've heard people that lived here that haven't come back yet. I think we saw that up in the workbook.
Everyone.
Everyone? Anyone like people here, people returning, new people, I think we heard that. Families.
The demographic has traditionally been elderly,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know how that fits into the future, because they're demographic. That's the kind of housing we needed in the past, which is single story.
But we might need downsizing seniors housing. Yeah. Or elder housing.
I respect the type of housing that's coming with the, people back on our gens with the, Canal Bar project, will really benefit, that demographic that you're
In the
saying.
community.
It will be very, very, very helpful.
That's, yeah.
Yep.
I think we heard families, we'd like to see families come back.
Singles, so before the fire, there were a lot of singles that rented. There was the one apartment building in town. I think it had 7 or 8 units. I think BC Ambulance used it at the time. There were a couple of long-term residents, but there were a number of young people that would rent for short periods of time while they worked in town. But there was always a waiting list. There was never enough rental reservations for single young people.
Single young people rental. That's, I think,
This would probably be the CN and CP, they do a lot of that, like they'll almost like pre-rent like 6 units. Because they know that they're gonna have a replacement of fact section in there, so they'll rent for like 6 months, where they'll rent up everything that's rentable. So the workers have a spot, because that's just the program they do, so.
yeah. I've also heard multi-generational, particularly parents that have houses here that like their kids to be able to buy here. And maybe not a single family, but maybe something a little smaller, a townhome, something like that, so that they get a piece of it.
That stuff with lower upkeep. Sometimes.
Do we need to house second homeowners? Right, house second homeowners.
What's that?
That's great. It means that they own a house in the city and they like to come up here on the weekends. I think you have some already.
Have some.
Yeah, it's a good compliment.
Even Airbnbs, went from first drive across the river there today. It's gorgeous, like to bring your family up here and just hike and enjoy this away from the city.
So yeah,
It's something else.
I know Megan with her tiny home. She found people really love to come up here. I'm gonna use your term. The digital nomads. Does everyone know what those are?
No.
They're people that can live anywhere in the world. And they work with their computer, am I saying it right? And they like the amenities and they spend their money. They often have large incomes, so.
There are millions and millions of them now. There are some countries, like parts of Mexico, there are so many that go into certain regions. They're having issues because it's affecting the locals, because you have a rental unit, the digital nomads are coming in, signing it up, occupying it, and the locals are second because they're not making as much money or off as much money. But it's huge potential for something like this. I can see, I can envision the entire second story of the hub, big digital nomad. Take one of those rooms and it becomes the work center for all the computers and.
Teachers, Bernie, and doctors, and nurses first.
No, they can build their own place.
But yeah,
So many people love it.
yeah, and again, I know many people, and I think Melissa, our communication is, she traveled all around BC to decide where she wanted to live. So she traveled and she went to all these little communities on vacation and weighed which one she wanted to live with. I wasn't that lucky to do that, but I had to go where the job was. But okay, and then we're gonna come back to another question. Should we rebuild just like before the fire?
Should we You know, if pigs fly, we don't have a choice.
Okay.
Okay.
But okay, but what do you like? What was important?
Well, before you
About
could
housing.
get a place that was relatively cheap and you could remodel it. And that's why those homes just kept going and going and going. Like you said, there was a lot of single homes.
Mhm.
But you don't have that opportunity now.
You get in the market cheap.
What I see here compared to other communities is we weren't a huge transient population.
Well, and I actually see that even, there's a very strong community in gathering.
Yeah.
So
That's
thing
the
that you
kind
guys
of,
always did, always,
yeah, I can't remember the question you said, but kind of.
whether you rebuild and,
Yeah.
and what you're saying is, yeah, it wasn't very stable.
Very stable, yeah.
That's really valuable.
Not like people coming and going, like when they came, you stayed, just what they're saying.
Yeah, paying there to live.
Housing has to be pretty much a base started. I don't know if it could be a good strategy for this, or to be considered a strategy, but you work with a developer to get a base started. That's gonna need a rental. And because we're not gonna get those $700,000 homes. To be shaken, baked, to come, but you've got to start somewhere, but you're not gonna have it like Jen said before, right? But you need a base of something to get some people in here.
Yeah.
Well, we need a base population to support the services that we need to bring in. If we don't have enough population, we won't have a grocery store or a pharmacy or whatever.
And I think that's the charity thing, because if we don't have the businesses here or whatever, where people can be employed, then they're coming here, young people, outside on the job, unless they're doing something digital, right? So it's difficult because if you need to come here, well, some way of living.
Yeah.
Retiree.
Yes.
We're looking for young people. And so it's just as equally important that we get businesses in.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think one thing you mentioned earlier when you charged or something, show the whole variety. And I don't know, I think in some ways we kind of have that before, but I think we need to be very cognizant of providing that range. Single home, apartment, low income. Assisted living, all that, make sure that all the parameters, because we've got the advantage now. Starting from zero, to make sure that it isn't just all focused on one thing, which is that it's really important to offer a range. So that you get that demographic mix that you need for a healthy community.
And sometimes through zoning, there's zones called comprehensive development, which is, it has a lot more flexibility. It's not so prescriptive. And what that allows is builders or developers to, or even homeowners just to be a little more creative of what they need. And it actually adds to a local character too. It's not all cookie cutter, like one guy came in and did everything. So, you know, one thing we are thinking, we'll see where we go with the essential housing, but I think it'd be really good to show an ADU, an accessory dwelling unit, or a flag in one of the lots, just to, so people can see. And then maybe if they, and I know we're talking a lot about downtown, but up in Loring, they have opportunities to do that. They have a lot more land up there. Yeah, Jen?
Sorry, I used to say others, but if we provided to that, like this, once this, you know, people see what's possible with the tiny home.
Mm-hmm.
I think people that are interested in building, if they were kind of handed the funding framework, if we had sort of a pre-arranged, pre-authorized kind of mortgage structure where they could come in with 30,000 down and a lot and know that, you know, over whatever 30-year amortization, they could buy this property. Or sorry, buy, you know, purchase the home.
And what we're also seeing same is places like Kelowna, and that they're actually pre-approving building designs.
So that's what I'm getting at. So
Yeah.
we had some sort of a framework and bank that was involved and like a,
Yeah.
somebody perhaps even on staff that could manage stick handle, putting people to the sort of pre-approved, like come up with your 30 grand. If you tick those 3 boxes, we can help you get out.
Yeah. It's
They
really
don't stress it.
exactly.
They don't even know how to communicate.
So in the back, did we miss anybody? guys. I gotta just check in with Lisa. Any more comments?
No comments online.
I got a comment.
Okay,
I'm a Swilex, so I'm a project manager up in the new subdivision we're building in town here. So 56 lots up there, 34 homes are going in right away. But I've always driven through the Freeze Canyon. I've never stopped with it, right? I've come here to do this job now and got to know a lot of people in the community, right?
Yeah.
But just getting to know the area, like I've gone to all the different places, the other side of the river, building that subdivision up there, meeting the people. It's such a beautiful area, right? Getting to know the people, the cultures. I'm trying to get all our workforce that are up there. We not just go back to the trailers or the camp at night, but get involved with the community. Come to outings if there's things that are happening, events, whatever stuff. Get involved with the community, and we really start to see that with their up there.
oh, nice.
And I think that I never knew Lytton before I saw this, right? And I've actually even talked to my wife. We live in Kamloops, but look at Lytton. That's an opportunity there. Like but to see the growth that we're building those homes up there, I'm passionate about that. But to see the potential in this town, like I spent a lot of time with Jason, right? And just to see the potential. Yeah. But just to see the potential that Lytton has, right? Yeah. I think that I think there's marketing available for this town for the province to see what's happening, right?
Well, and it's interesting you said that because I've had a couple other builders say the exact same thing to me.
Yeah.
That their crews are kind of, the more they spend it and they start looking around and they're like, yeah. So that's a great.
There's so much opportunity for young families and everything.
To get into market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But just so you know,
Yeah.
we're throwing it a little bit to the academics. University of Fraser Valley is going to do a little report for us with some students about what people are looking for when they move to small towns and what the fits, and they'll probably do some focus groups, not with people here, but people that potentially could move here. So I'm now asking the profs when they finish the research, could you present it to the community? And same. So just because you can do community consultation, but as everyone said, we need new people to come in. And how do they know about it? And what do they want? And do the values translate, right? The values of this community and for them.
So when are you moving down again? Yeah. It's okay.
Give me a second, home guy.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tina?
Yeah, I just think it's a challenge. I'm just speaking for the village of Lytton and then how we have to do a big reach out. So what I see is a challenge for the village of Lytton. Now that we're down to, I think, 75 people, even Free Fire, we lack the capacity to have a housing society. They tried to put that together, and they started to go through the steps to have on a church property, we could put some units there. But one, we lack the capacity to follow through as a nonprofit housing society in Lytton now, especially with the place, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm asking, maybe through this process, that we need a big reach out with the Lytton First Nation, who's really doing a lot of work, and to understand how do we work together to bring that knowledge to say, maybe the church will give their property development. And then how do the developers come in and put units on that? And then how do we get property management?
Are you saying the Catholic church property?
No, the Anglican, it's Fraser.
Okay. Oh,
6 and Fraser, 75 by 100 lot. That could be used for age owned house or any kind of housing. Yes.
good opportunity.
But we need to have a big reach out to pull some of these concepts together, because we don't have a framework for assisting all these developments that we have the ideas for.
Yeah.
But we have a partner over there in Liquor States, so that's gone through 4 years ago. Right, but I'm just saying how, it's the big thing for you on, you're working more on the strategy. Thank you.
What type of housing what kind of housing should be here? How about we just throw that out and use it? Tell me what you think. We know that there's single family, and we know there's gonna be apartments of the hub, and also in looking at some of the building plans, people are coming in with commercial with residential on top.
If you're buying up places. If you're not gonna tell me that,
We want people to stay.
like a mansion and
And also we want nice accommodation for the professionals that are coming in, because we want them to stay.
Yeah, and so some of the professionals are younger, and younger people start with often a condo in the city or a smaller or townhome. And then they save and like and then you go
Right.
to something different. So is townhouse okay?
I don't think
Lorna?
So, yeah, initially, when we had people talking to us about going down, it was gonna be a subdivision. And I think that having people have personal choice of how their house they look, their color of their house, all those things. I think it's smart.
Yeah.
It'd be ashamed to look like something.
And then I'd also throw out a community I worked in Pemberton. They just Melissa, our communications was really close to it, and it's a 5-story block building. And I have to say it might have worked somewhere, but it just is so big, it doesn't fit. And I talked with some stories, I haven't really talked about that. Maybe some areas, the rule of thumb is often big flat around neighborhood not, but if you're up against a slope, you can use it for retaining, you can add some stories. So I think if it fits and it stays with the character, I don't know if you've done any density, have you? David?
Again, we've got some on radar.
Yeah.
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 I look at those 6 places that connected, or reserve. That accommodates quite a few people. Even at Cisco, they've got a 6-plex and an 8-plex, right?
Mhm.
But it still requires a fair large lot, like probably a block. Parking.
One thing, thanks, I got hit, I got 4 hours drive ahead of me, but thanks a lot for the village of Lytton for allowing myself and then on behalf of Violet's to come onto the local land, and we rent here and we stay here and eat here for during the weekend. I appreciate all the welcoming. I've only been here a month with the company and I love being down here. I'm down here every week, and LFN, we work right alongside LFN there. And everyone's been accommodating, and I'm to the point that I'll be bringing my boys down on the weekends, but just to get away from San Bernardino type thing. That's where I'm thinking, but it's nice, but even that's getting too big for me as I appreciate
that line.
I appreciate everything, and we're here to stay, and we're here to help community rebuild, and anything we can do to help. We're not going anywhere anytime soon, so much appreciated.
We love it here too.
Sorry, what's your name?
My name is Mark Lantier. I'm the newest operations manager with Squires.
Awesome.
It's also nice to have people from other communities coming to get their
Realize how nice it is.
different perspectives. Because like Denise said, we're quite an insular little community as well, so it's nice to get outside viewpoints. Thank you.
I've been in this industry 26 years, so working with Jason and Jared down there and John, it's good to bring in some other experiences and maybe some other ways of doing things and
Yeah.
save costs and overtime everything because
Yeah, we all have lots of learnings for
I
sure.
don't, I would never miss a free meal. Right?
Okay, awesome. I would really love to see the project. I think what we're gonna do now is we're gonna. Because I don't think there's any comments, we're going to, what I want to do, just have a conversation, come write stuff up, come write your ideas up. It's 6:30 now. I think lots of great ideas and nobody's afraid to speak, which is awesome. And anytime you can call me or Jason or Raven or Maggie and let us know what your thoughts are about housing. But I think we've got some good ideas and we're getting there. And what will happen in the next steps particularly with housing, you will see the land use plan and sort of guidelines of where we want to go. And I think what I'm hearing is we want to keep our community character and its small town character, but we also realize we have to pivot a little bit to have a bit more diversity in housing so that we can accommodate new people, which I thought Judith's comment was really great. People come here first and rent, and they, so keep informed, and really thanks again, and thanks for Lancey and Kamsheen for that great meal, and thanks a lot. everybody.
Yeah, would you like to do a pitch for the next one?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Next week is Parks and Trails, which I'm excited about. And I know in conversations with different people, they've given me lots of input about trails and where we should have parks. And so we'll do an update on that. And that's on Wednesday night. And then on Thursday night is agriculture and food security, which I think our neighborhood communities definitely have a foot up on us on that. So, and really important. I think you all experience the importance of food security and the grocery store. Yeah. Thanks for